kindly mute off your microphone during this webinar session. And also, we would like to all the participants to open the camera so then we can have a screenshot for all the participants here in this webinar. Your cooperation I highly appreciate it. Assalamualaikum, good morning, everybody. Right now, we have 104 participants from 225 participants that applied for this webinar. Just a gently reminder to all the participants, can you mute all of your microphone during this webinar session? And please open your camera so we can see all the beautiful ladies and good-looking men. And due to the pandemic, this is the new norm for PSA conduct a seminar. Previously, we come to join the seminar, but today seminar will come to you. Everywhere you are, just sit and relax, enjoy your seminar while having your coffee or tea. So right now, waiting for our president. Okay. Dato Nurmazilah. Dato Nurmazilah. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start around a few minutes. So just get ready for our seminar. Cik Nasran. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. On behalf of the organizer, I would like to welcome all of you to webinar Integrated Reporting Framework Principles and Practices. The webinar today is organized by Malaysia Public Sector Accountants Association, PSA. Before we get started, I would like to extend a gentle reminder for all our participants. First of all, this webinar will be conducted in English and it will last for 2 hours. Kindly mute all of your microphone during this webinar session. Please open your camera so we can see all beautiful ladies and good-looking gentlemen. To ask any question, please submit your question by using the chat function. You may submit your question anytime during the webinar today. They will only be answered during Q&A session. Everyone, please do take note. Your cooperation, I kindly appreciate it. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Nasran Omar, President of Malaysia Public Sector Accountants Association, to address the audience. Mr. Nasran, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Azizi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you, all our accountants, to this special virtual gathering which bring together public sector accountants from AG, ministry and agency to a live webinar on a most timely topic of common interest, that is integrated reporting framework. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate my team from the PSA for its first live webinar, and we are looking forward to hosting more virtual seminars in the future. Special thanks to Malaysian Institute of Accountants, particularly the CEO Yang Berusaha Dr. Nurmazilah Dato Mahzan, for their tremendous support and willingness to share their experience and expertise in public sector integrated reporting. Ladies and gentlemen, with increasing demand for greater transparency and enhanced disclosure of financial and non-financial information is one of the comprehensive report. Interest in IR has grown in recent years in Malaysia. Although IR is initially developed with corporate users in mind, the emphasis of IR on value beyond profit has many benefits for public sector as well. Unlike the current business model that is very much focused on operational, accounting and financial reporting, this opens up an opportunity for AG to build credibility and go beyond accounting numbers in moving towards accrual accounting. Therefore, the main objective of this PSA webinar is to give a clearer picture to public sector accountants on framework and approach used by one of the federal statutory body in Malaysia, MIA, in preparing and publishing an integrated report. While the introduction of accrual accounting has led to the significant improvement in financial management and accountability, there have been indications that public sector could make further improvement to annual reporting, particularly in the area of reporting financial and non-financial performance. Ladies and gentlemen, in relation to today's topic, integrated reporting framework, we are amazed to discover a new shift in public sector reporting internationally, where IR has been adopted by many public sector organizations in the UK, including the City of London Corporation, the Crown Agent, and government departments. We should be proud that AG has also taken steps toward realizing this comprehensive public annual report and keep up with the international trend. The development of AG Business Strategic Plan, BSP 2019 to 2023, has taken into account the analysis of current environment, global practice in accounting, and current technology trends to ensure that AG strategies are in line with international accounting and financial policies and the future technology trends. I would very glad to point out that IR has been covered under Strategic Thrust 3 of AG BSP, that is to reinforce total integrated public sector financial and management accounting system. Ladies and gentlemen, I do agree with the statement of Chairman of International Integrated Reporting Council, stated that public value is about the impact of the product create on society and environment to create the right conditions for the 21st century. This emphasizes encourage better decision making, greater transparency, and longer-term perspective, all of which are crucial to the sustainability of public services. Yet, it is important to recognize that adoption of IR is not an overnight process. IR is a journey and it will take more than one reporting cycle to get there. Therefore, Strategic Thrust 4 of AGBSP focuses on the empowerment of human capital capabilities through enhancing their competency and skill set. This is currently committed and implemented by AG by giving opportunity for accountants to attend professional certification courses, provide insight through knowledge sharing, and by building a team of talent personnel as a source of referral and expert advice for the whole of AG workforce. In coping with the challenges of adopting IR, I think that we are already on the right track and we will get there soon. Inshallah, I personally believe that MIA has the capabilities to offer and equip members with the relevant knowledge and competency to ensure accountants in public sector remain sustainable in future. I also hope this event will be the stepping stone for AG to chart continuous engagement with MIA. Once again, thank you very much for spending your precious time today, and I hope all of us will gain some insight and knowledge from this event. Lastly, I would welcome all the PSM members in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nasran, for the insightful speech. Now, we may move on to the panel discussion. I would like to first introduce the moderator today, and she is Dr. M. Farahin Ali alias Ibrahim, Senior Principal Assistant Director, Account Department, Ministry of Finance. Besides, we are honored to have Dr. Nurmazilah Dato Mahzan, Chief Executive Officer of Malaysia Institute of Accountants as our panel today. She's also a member of Malaysian Accounting Standards Board, MASB, elected member of Board of Governance for the Institute of Internal Auditors Malaysia, IIA Malaysia, Council member of the Malaysian Institute of Certified Public Accountants, MICPA, and the Honorary Treasurer with Persatuan Ekonomi Malaysia. Dr. Nurmazilah also served in various committees of MIA and MICPA. Now, may I hand over to our moderator, Dr. Ann, please.
Right. Thank you, Maulud. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Tuan Haji Nasran, Dr. Nurmazilah, ladies and gentlemen. As highlighted earlier, in the current economic and political climate, there are increasing demand in the effectiveness and efficiency of government to allocate and utilize the resource in delivering the services. Similar to other developing countries, general public in Malaysia roughly heavily relies on government agencies to provide the basic needs such as health, education, and safety. In fact, public services underpin human welfare and general economic growth. However, the recent data shared by World Bank shows that just increasing the amount of resources, such as equipment, financial personnel, does not guarantee that the quality of education or healthcare will improve. In the worst case, public services can be developed by corruption, which leads to money intended for books, teachers, farmers, medical supplies, and infrastructure being siphoned off by officials or politicians. So according to them, and IMF, the government critically need to consider a report that could provide a greater focus on aspects such as risk and sustainable development. So currently, there are significant gaps in report. The information are massive, especially with the initiative of accrual-based accounting and big data. Yet, the information is scattered and in silo, which fail to encourage and monitor the government agencies to optimize the resources to fulfill its social obligation and economic needs. So this required a report beyond the existing financial report that normally produced by Accountant General Department. We need to consider about a report which called Integrated Report, IR. So with increasing demand for greater transparency and accessibility in resource management and the impact on the organization activities in value creation process over the time, many organizations desire to promote financial stability and sustainable development. For example, I think Dr. Nurmazilah will highlight later on the effort conducted by UK Crown agencies, NHS Greenwich Port Authority of Singapore already introduced IR in their organization. So this initiative, I believe it requires a framework and basic principle as highlighted in our recent business strategic planning as produced to Accountant General for the period of 2019 to 2023. So this is one of our effort for AGP to prepare the integrated report as proposed by MIA or IIRC. So I think this will explain by our distinguished speaker in the next 60 minutes. We are very honored today. We have a distinguished speaker, Dr. Nurmazilah. As a member of the Framework Review Panel of the IRC and her diverse experience in corporate organization, will no doubt shed much light on the key aspect of integrated reporting, including the framework and principles. So this will be followed by the question and answers session. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Nurmazilah.
Thank you, Farihin, and thank you, MC. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning. Salam sejahtera. I would like to wish everyone, a great welcome to this webinar where I'm going to share a bit of my knowledge of integrated reporting. So once again, thank you to PSA Malaysia, Persatuan Accountant Awam, in inviting me to share my knowledge on this topic. So integrated reporting is something that is really gaining traction. A lot of organizations around the world is using integrated reporting framework, and many have able to communicate value creation much better. So I do feel at home today because Anne was my student back then in 1998, 1999. And I do also see some familiar names. I think Muhammad Zawawi, Awi is also part of the participants, and Hanis Omar. So they were all together with me in UM more than 10 years ago. So it's good to be in touch again with all of them, as well as all the ladies and gentlemen. So before I present my slides, I would like to probably explain a bit about the whole process of preparation of integrated reporting in terms of the stages and the knowledge that we need to have in preparing. So today, actually, I'm going to give a overall view and probably some general steps, but when for those who are going to be involved, there would be more trainings that's needed, because we need to look into every aspect of the framework, the content element, in order to ensure that you are able to understand, you are able to get the right data for you to include in the integrated report. So today I'm going to present the overview, the basic principles, the basic steps, what we are looking at in preparations of integrated report. So allow me to share my slides. Okay, I hope everyone can see the slides. So actually, integrated report has started in Malaysia, where MIA actually hosted the Integrated Reporting Steering Committee in 2015. But globally, in 2010, the conversation, the discussion on integrated reporting has already started in the UK together with South Africa. At that time, they were looking at the current form of reporting, which is largely based on financial information. And they did notice at that time, even investors had that discussion, whereby even stakeholders, whereby they see that there are many informations that are not contained in the report. And those informations are actually very important for the decision makers and for the stakeholders. That is where the International Integrated Reporting Council, had that conversation, and they had roundtables with many parties, many agencies, and many stakeholders to look at how do we, or what are the informations that would help actually the decision makers and also help stakeholders to understand the organization in a much better way. So if our report does not actually include information that are needed by people, that is why sometimes they ask question, and nowadays they ask question through social media. But if our report address information, especially material information that is important, then there could be less of those social media questions. And this is, I think, important for us to understand what kind of information that the stakeholders would like to have. And stakeholders is not just shareholders, it's not just the providers of financial capital. It also actually includes, for example, public at large, creditors, government agencies, other agencies, and those that we are collaborating with. So for a start, maybe let's look at one video, and sit back and let's watch this video. Okay, hopefully that video is able to give you a bit of an idea regarding integrated reporting. If you see the connections, so integrated reporting is about connecting information. The main thing about the vision for this better corporate reporting that is promoted by Integrated Reporting Council is to actually highlight and to share the value creation by any organization. And this concept about value creation goes beyond financial, and it also goes beyond numbers, because for any organization, either it is a corporate profit making organization, even for profit making organization, they're not just giving back to their shareholders in terms of dividend, but sometimes they give to the shareholders more than just dividend. That includes value, branding, the name, the trademark, and also a long-term growth of that organization. So if we think about value creation, when we look at public sector organization, the vision and the objectives are different from the private sector or profit-making organization, and mainly public sector organization are actually fulfilling the objectives of their incorporation. So this is where IR is helping organization to have that overall view, to think holistically about your purpose. Main importantly is about your purpose, and given that purpose, how the organization actually put up their strategy and plan based on the purpose by using all their resources and make informed decision while managing. So if this needs a lot of thought process as well, because I do understand, especially if we are at middle management, we are doing our work based on probably KPI day by day. We try to get things done, but it is useful to have that conversation, and it is useful for everyone in the organization to understand the purpose of your organization and link it with strategy and plan. Why you're doing what you're doing, and then that will help you to make informed decision, and that help you also to manage key risks. So this is where IR is actually encouraging. In order to prepare IR, this process has to happen, whereby we need to understand our purpose. We probably need to have that conversation, that discussion with our top management, our top bosses, and to understand the strategy and plan. Why we're having that much of budget this year, and what are we trying to achieve this year? What is our scorecard this year? And that helps. And we also need to understand why certain decisions are being made, and how do we manage risks. So that understanding helps all the preparers of integrated reporting, because based on that understanding, you're going to craft that in your report so that your stakeholder will understand. Okay, so that is the idea, or the first few steps of integrated reporting. And at the end of the day, it is actually building, stakeholders' trust and confidence and future performance. So IR is not just about reporting, actually. Okay, reporting is actually the end product, but IR, integrated report, actually encourage, or integrated report require us to first think again about our about our organization in integrated manner. Connection from one department to another department, and then actually helps us to plan in terms of identify what are the important informations that we need to share in our report. Okay, that is important. And only finally, we actually craft the report. We bring all the information, all the data together, and we craft the report. It is actually, you know, a process of telling, more or less, it's like a story of the organization, or story of their business. Okay, because without the holistic information, our stakeholders, the readers of the report, would not understand the what are we reporting. So this is where the way IR framework is being designed, it has content elements that are recommended, so that the purpose of these content elements are actually to ensure or to help the readers to understand, the value that this organization is creating, because that is actually the concept of IR. So the journey is actually also about, presenting clear. So what we want to achieve in IR, or the characteristic of IR, it has to be a clear communication. We try to be concise, as much as possible. And there are ways, there are techniques how we can be concise. Because imagine, I think maybe questions will be asked, like the ministries, the government, the ministry is probably very big. There's so many information, but how do we make our reporting concise? How do we, collapse all the information and put it in, probably less than 100 pages? And one of the technique, and one of the probably the tool that help us to do that, is the integration. The integration means that we try to reduce overlapping information. So for example, in any ministry, for example, you have maybe 10 departments, yes, 10 jabatan, but some of those information, because departments are actually in a value chain. So one department is doing the step A, then probably the next department is handling the step B, step C, and all that. But you all interconnected. So what we are reporting is not the process of the value chain, but we're reporting on why we start and what's the outcome. Yeah, so it is integration. So we try to avoid the overlapping information within the value chain. That helps us to be concise and to be clear. So that is IR process and the concept of integrated reporting. So the aims is actually IR is promoting, advocating quality information. So we give information, those information are actually valuable to the readers, not just process or activity that they may not want to know and would not probably be relevant for them, but information that we provide are those that help them to make decisions, help them to understand better. And it's also to enhance accountability and stewardship for the broad base of capitals, and also promote understanding of the interdependencies of capitals or resources. Yeah. So resources, later on I will share. In the view of IR, resources are not just financial. It also includes like social capital, manufactured capital, your building, your fixed asset, intellectual capital, human capital, and natural capital. So in the view of IR, resources are not just financial. So in the IR report, we also report on other resources that helps us to execute and helps us to produce value. And most importantly is to also tell the story and explain to people, to stakeholders, on the ability of the organization to create value over time. So especially in government agencies or government department, for example, we talk about education. So education is creating value over time. You probably won't see results in like 1 year, but whatever policies in education, whatever in education blueprint, it is actually creating value over time. So is in the area of or in the understanding, it is a longitudinal, it's a long term. So it is important that in IR view, over time means it is not just short term, it includes medium term and long term. So we actually putting that vision in IR. So in education, we may share, for example, we share that the ministry has published probably a higher education blueprint. So in year 1, probably it's about publishing. In year 2, year 3, year 4, we report the milestone of what we are doing to achieve that goals. But we put the vision in that report, that in year 10, assuming everything goes well, we are looking into this value. We're looking into enhanced competency, enhanced critical thinking for the nation. So in the IR, we are not just reporting on what we've done, what we're planning, but we are also reporting on what we are aiming to achieve. So a reader will understand. So if the ministry has actually produced higher education blueprint, for example, or education blueprint, they know that it has been produced this year. There will be few more activities next year, but at the end of the day, this is what we're looking at. So that is the aim of IR. It is about the story, the plan, the strategy for the organization to create value over time. And the other thing about IR is the framework is encouraging, is helping this integrated thinking in the organization. So because the framework has some content elements, it somehow drive over years in order to make it much more efficient in preparation of the integrated report. It drive the organization to be more integrated, to be less in silos, to have more collaboration, so that everyone in the organization understand about creation of value over a longer time. So that those are the benefits of IR and the aims of integrated reporting. So in a way, the integrated reporting aims is also about changing the way we think, we plan, and changing the way also we report. Okay. So I would like to share the journey in MIA, so everyone knows MIA. So before we adopt IR in 2016, um, this is how these are the contents of our annual report. We report on the who are on the council, we report on our activities, okay, and we report on our committees and financial statement. So if you look at the annual report to 2016, you may see some activities, you may see some member statistic, you see our governance, our council, but those are activities. Okay, you may not see much in this 2016 annual report. What is the vision? How is MIA fulfilling its duties under the Accountants Act 1967? You may not understand much from this 2016. But actually, MIA has been doing that for many years and all these years, but it's not the story was not told in the annual report. And at that time, I was thinking that there's so much that MIA is doing. It also engaged with a lot of people, but when you read the annual report, those are not seen. And then during AGM, there are a lot of questions, and because of course people want to know what else is MIA doing, and I thought that there has to be a better way to communicate the MIA value creation and MIA activities to people, and MIA contribution. At that time, I look at it as contribution. There has to be ways how MIA contribution is actually informed to people at large, because MIA has its function under the Accountants Act 1967, and it has to fulfill the functions because government form MIA to fulfill those functions, and they have to be accountable and responsible in fulfilling those functions. So this is where we started our journey in 2017, where we published our first IR. But in 2017, I think looking back, those IR is really beginning lah. And over the years, we keep reviewing and we challenge back our own annual report, and we improve the annual report. So this is our report recently, September 2020, when we released, which I think we have tried to explain as best possible in terms of what actually the value that MIA is delivering and how we did that. So and also the report flows, from the president message up to the financial performance. So perhaps later on we can look in detail on MIA report, but basically if you look at this content, we actually arrange it where President message will talk about the big direction, the vision, and also, you know, the plans moving forward. It's more of a leadership statement. And when it comes to CAO statement, we crafted that the CAO statement is looking at operational review, looking at performance, and looking at also our plans for the next financial year. And it is aligned with our vision and mission. So vision and mission is actually captured at the first topic, which is MIA at a glance. We share our vision, we share the functions that we have to carry out based on the Accountants Act. And then we explain on the management team. We have management team because they handle you know, important parts of the operation of MIA. So we have the membership technology and operation that handles everything on membership. And then we have the technical, whereby members register themselves. Membership will ensure that they follow all the requirements. And then the technical department will take care and ensure that they have all the guidelines, they get all the latest updates in terms of standards, in terms of taxation and ethics. And this goes back to our strategic objective 1, to ensure that whoever registered themselves as accountant, that their skill sets, they are competent and relevant and fulfill what their employers need and what the market needs. And then the third one is actually professional development, and to make sure that our strategy and professional development is helping the continuous professional education so that members are relevant. And finally is surveillance and enforcement, and the role of surveillance and enforcement is to ensure that we retain trust to the profession. So whoever that is, you know, naughty, or whoever that breach the act, breach the law, or, you know, they don't fulfill their responsibility towards the client, the actions to be taken on them on disciplinary. And that surveillance and enforcement helps to retain trust in the profession. So it is a value chain, and therefore we have words, or we have probably reports from the management team, the executive director, after CEO statement. So, and after that, we put 3 case studies, and we use case study to explain on the major initiative on that year that actually provide value to the members as well as to other stakeholders. So one of the case study that we shared in MIA annual report in 2020 is supporting the development of Islamic finance. So this is where MIA has started, you know, our textbook on Islamic finance. How do you actually use IFRS or MFRS in Islamic finance or Islamic based transaction? And we completed and we shared this book free of charge, PDF, to everyone, even at the global context. And we send it to like Saudi and Middle East, and they feel that it's really, really helping. And this initiative is actually financed through donors. We work with MAREF, and we work with Bank Islam, IBIM, and Bank Muamalat in producing this, you know, this textbook. It's 300 pages, and it took about more than 2 years. And we collaborated with many universities, and there are about probably 10 lecturers who were involved as well, and about 8 practitioners. So it is an initiative, and we actually you know, share that in a case study. And we have another 2 case study on digital transformation and driving IR for long-term sustainability. So one of the case study here is about driving IR, how we started in 2015, providing awareness, giving talks, giving round table and all that to provide awareness. And currently, in terms of public listed, I think almost 100 public listed companies, the large one, they have adopted IR, and actually they have published their IR since 2019. And those are our story, actually, how we touch life in a way. Is how we make contribution. So that's what we call value creation. So the rest, the other part 3, is actually a story of how we did it. You know, we have market outlook, so we share about market outlook. We explain about stakeholders engagement. Who do we engage to? I think these encompass about 3 pages, because we collaborate and work with many parties. I think more than 10. So we engage with universities, with ministries, with AG, with other professional bodies, also with other agencies, with companies, and with individuals. So we explain our stakeholders engagement. And the other thing, we explain about material matters. There's so many important matters, but there are about 10 that are very, very important material that actually influence how we carry out our duties. So that is on our story. And after that, of course, our governance, the council and all that, and our financial performance. So in 3 also, we explain our key risks. Is we explain our capital. We explain also sustainability, our mapping with the UN SDG. So that is explained in uh, item 3. So this is about MIA story. And if we look at PIDM, okay, we can compare between the table of content in 2017 before they adopt IR. Again, these are what I say standard. They have overview, message, management discussion, analysis, overview of membership, corporate governance, financial statement. So PIDM, we engage with PIDM, and in 2017 and 2018, 2019, PIDM issued out their IR, and they talk about value creation. So if you can see in PIDM 2019 annual report, they talk about value creation. They talk about stakeholders. They talk about material matters. And then they talk about performance. So you can see the difference, before adoption of IR and after adoption of IR. You can see that they explain more about value creation, how they actually create value. Later on, if we have time, I'll go through how PIDM shared about their value creation. Like PIDM, it is more or less regulated. There's a law that, all financial institutions need to contribute, and PIDM will guarantee the savings. But that, it's important for people to understand why the existence of PIDM is important in ensuring their saving is safe. But this information were not there in 2017. They are just talking about operation, about membership and all that, but nothing is explained in 2017 about why they exist. Okay, and in 2019 they explained that. So this is a global example on ABN AMRO. Again, if we look at the table of content in before they adopt, very standard. This is where everyone use the same format, perhaps. Strategic report, business report, governance report, annual financial statements. But in 2019, you can see that the report is more humanized. The report engage with people. The report helps people to understand better. The reader will understand better. They talk about interview with their CEO. They explain about their bank. They explain again on value creation, and they explain about performance. Okay, so that's where you can see the difference between annual report, the standard annual report, and integrated report. This is another, example. That is the airport company limited in South Africa. So again, this is a public utility organization, public utility company, where they have a lot of operation, airport, community, aviation, commercial service, human resource. And in this report, you can see there's a list of items, statement of financial position, even all the financial statement is listed one by one. When you look at it, like, wow, it is so cluttered. But in 2020, you can see that it's more precise, more concise, and they talk about their mandate, their shareholding, their geographical footprint, and then they talk about their governance, their board of directors, and they talk about how our strategy creates value. Okay, the strategic intent, the materiality process, and their value creation outcomes. Okay, that is clearly explained in their IR. And then they talk about the leadership messages or the speeches, and then they have one section on transformation, how they transform people, they transform their supply base, the society, and the socio-economic impact, the environment, and they also give future outlook. And one thing very glaring is that they put their report card on the IR, performance review. This is where you can see that those organizations that adopt IR would share their performance. Okay, so another one that Dr. Ann also has mentioned is UK Crown Estate. This UK Crown Estate is a public company, public organization. They're handling all the buildings in the UK that belongs to the Queen, if I'm not mistaken. So this was the IR in 2011. At this time, they're already thinking about, you know, having a framework that helps them to explain better. And UK Crown Estate play a big role in IIRC as well, in also giving a lot of I think feedback in terms of shaping the IR framework. So they explain in the 2011, of course, a lot of a big chunk of the report is on financial, but then they explain the different estate that they have. They also have sustainability in their report. But if we compare in their 2020, you know, they use the IR framework. The report talks about strategy, material issue, their business model, business review, their people and their stakeholders, their networks, and then their natural resources. So those are information that, you know, based on content element that helps people to understand much more about their value creation. So these are the examples. I hope by now you are able to understand and differentiate, you know, the normal standard annual report with integrated report and the content. So so the IR framework is actually documented in this document called the framework of IR. So this is the document that we call IR framework. Yeah, it actually explained IR purpose, IR vision, and also it explained the fundamental concepts, guiding principles, and content elements. So if maybe a lot of people ask as well, is this a standard? More or less, IR is voluntary, except in South Africa, IR is mandatory. But in other parts of the world, IR is voluntary. Even for public listed in Malaysia, IR is the best practice, highly recommended by Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance for large companies. But why do we need a framework? Why do we need a framework? Because we would like to ensure consistency. Okay, and I think we all agree that comparability is important, and we all agree that if we follow the same framework, people can understand us better. So this is where when MIA tried to put more in our annual report in 2016, we know we need to have a framework where everyone else would understand. So this is where IR framework has been adopted, and we think that IR framework is, I think, very suitable for MIA to communicate value creation to the stakeholders. So basically the IR framework is just one booklet, and it is not like accounting standard. There are many, maybe 40, 50 standards altogether. IR framework is one booklet with a content that separated into fundamental concepts, guiding principles, and content elements. So the fundamental concept is, again, the purpose is about value creation, whereby organization created value, okay, based on the activities, and organization also create value through the relationship and interactions with other parties and stakeholders. And this is where I think it's important to see that the value creation is actually aligned to the purpose, and organization create value not just for internal, but it's also creating value and shared those value with the people at large. So that is the concept. So which means that when we try to prepare our IR, we need to have this, what we call, sometimes we call it soul searching. What is the main purpose of our ministry, for example? What is the main purpose of our statutory body? What is the main purpose for our agency? And look back, if we are formed by an act, look back at the act, what are the functions explained by the act, and then map, see the connection through what we are doing. Okay, whatever we are doing, we ask back the question, are we doing to fulfill that purpose? Are we doing to actually meet those functions that if we have the act that guides us? And then the other thing that we need to understand in terms of the fundamental principle, and it is actually understanding the organization that we are in. So in organization, we have resources. On the left part, actually, these are all resources that we have. But in the past, because financial statement only recognize financial resources, in the mind of all of us, we only think about financial. In the mind of all of us, we only think about, say, profit, cost, budget. But there are a lot of resources that are not recorded in financial statement, but the resources exist and we do use that resources. So in integrated report, we call that resources as capital. Yeah. So obviously we have financial capital, but other than financial capital, we have manufactured capital. For example, buildings, plants, machineries, those manufactured capital may be those that we purchase as well. And we use all these capitals in order to execute our functions and get the outcome. And then we have intellectual capitals. We probably have knowledge that others don't have. We have knowledge that really can help our organization to function better. So this intellectual capital is not recorded anywhere. It can be in terms of, for example, the SOP that you have developed, which is very good, that SOP really have the functions to be very, very effective. And those are intellectual capital. You may spend 1 year to develop the SOP. So those are intellectual capital, but it probably has never been recorded. Okay, and then we have human capital, the staff team, the talent that we have. And without talent, normally organization may not be able to function well. And in ministries that are providing services, talent is very important. And imagine we have spent a lot of probably a lot of money to train, and the training are all actually enhancing the talent. But try to think about it. Those are actually expense off in the profit and loss or statement of income. But after that, it's probably never recorded as any assets brought forward. So it's a human capital asset that doesn't appear in the financial statement. But this human capital, this talent, helps the organization to create value. Okay, and on the other hand, the organization also creating value, creating talent for the nation. And this is actually value creation. And fifth, social and relationship, again, it's never been recorded in the past. For MIA, we feel that social and relationship capital is very, very strong, which really help the institute to perform its function and to produce, to create value. For example, in MIA, when we come up with any standard, take one example, auditing and assurance standard, it is based on consultation. We issue a consultation paper, we get feedback from firms, from corporates, and our board, auditing standard boards are comprised of volunteers. So those are social and relationship. And for MIA, where we have about 37,000 registered accountants with us members, the 37,000 is actually part of a social and relationship capital. So that is actually, one of resources that is significant. And finally, natural capital. For example, you know, the air that we breathe, a good location, minerals that we use, those are natural capital that sometimes are not recorded. So this is where in the framework of our integrated report, we actually take into account all resources that we use in order for us to execute our function. And when it goes through the organization, if you look at in the middle, now it's just one box in the middle. But here what we can see is that from the left, we use all the resources, it went through the organization, all the processes, and on the right hand side, those values or outcome will be created. So the capital may be enhanced, maybe increased, maybe better in all the respect. So this is the first view. So now, what is in the middle? Okay, in the next slide, I will show what happens in the middle. So in the middle, where I mentioned just now about process, so so essentially, okay, when we have the capital, we start then looking at risk, looking at, you know, strategy and resource allocation. Okay, we start planning, and our governance, you know, our bosses will make sure that, you know, they will play an oversight role. They make sure that we are aligned to mission and vision. Okay, and this is where those capital become our inputs, and we start having all our activities, business activities, operational activities, and we produce outputs and we produce outcomes. Okay, and in IR, we differentiate outputs and outcomes, because outputs merely what we finish, what we, you know, activities that we've done, and you know, the probably the results of those activities. But outcomes are probably more impactful. Okay, when you look at outcomes, it really is valuable to the stakeholder, is valuable to the people at large, to the citizens. Those are outcomes. So this is the view, yeah, whereby in our operation we execute our, you know, activity to produce outputs, where the outputs will produce outcome, and that resulted in the performance. Okay, that resulted in the performance, and we report that. So we report the output and outcomes together with performance. And after that, there's a question, okay, what's next? What happened next year? What happens next 2 years? Then we actually also have this outlook. Okay, so we fully understand, like World Bank yesterday when they you know, came out with the Malaysian Economic Monitor report, the outlook in terms of GDP. So GDP is one of the way to measure outlook. Is saying that we're going to do better next year, like they're projecting 7%, I think, next year. So as for our organization, so what's the outlook for our organization and for our operation? Yeah, is it consistent with what World Bank came up with, or we cannot do that because we have different challenges? So those are the, you know, important data, important information that we need to have, and we are going to share this in our IR. So when we put these two together, okay, we take this one and then the second one, then we map it together, it will become like this. Yeah, it will become like this, where the resources of the capital from the left side is flows through the whole of the organization, the operation, the strategy and whatnot, and then it is produced as outcomes. So this is the complete picture how IR see organization, and in the IR framework, you know, it's expected that this complete picture is communicated in various elements of the IR framework. So the fundamental principle of this complete picture and is going to be shared in various elements of the integrated report. Okay, yeah. Now next is the capitals. So I've explained about the the 6 capitals and why those are important. I won't go through again unless there are questions. Then, okay, there's probably one question in the past, yeah. The many participants ask, if we don't have, do we need to report 6? The question is no. You only report those capital that you have and that you use in your operation. So the whole process of IR also connects with integrated thinking. As I mentioned just now, before the integrated report, in order to produce a very good integrated report, the integrated thinking plays a lot of influence. Because if you are so much in silos, then your data will be very much overlapping. But if the way your operation works, you're very much integrated, you're working very much together, and there's a lot of collaborations in the organization, that it will be much easier for you to prepare the integrated report, because the informations are already summarized in a way, already weaved, okay, when it's ready for presentation. And I would then also like to share that to MIA, this is also, we have seen transformation in the way we do work. Probably in the past, if you ask one department, you call them, they will pass. So we've tried to minimize that. There's now in MIA a lot of multi-department task force, and whenever one information or there's one queries, all departments will work together to solve that queries. So the integrated thinking has been embedded in MIA operation. And during staff meeting, for example, we talk a lot about integration, we talk a lot about collaboration. And when there's any initiative, we always have a multi-division task force to be part of that initiative. And in the preparation of our IR, we have a steering committee chaired by me, and all the executive directors are member of the steering committee. So apart from steering committee, we have the working committee. So the working committee comprised of representation, representative from various departments who are part of the working committee. So the steering committee will come up with a broad overview with the plan on our IR format and what information that we want to include in the IR for that year. And the working committee will then start looking for data. They will discuss the data, they process the data, and they will feed the data based on the wireframe that we have agreed upon in steering committee. So that's the process of our IR. We have a timetable, we have the TOR for the both committees, and we also have the detailed milestone, Gantt chart, and timetable for the preparation. So this is where we always discuss the IR is a journey. As Tuan Haji Nasran mentioned in his speech, it won't probably happen overnight. It's a journey, and we work towards it, and we keep improving it year on year. Okay. So this is the example of MIA complete picture. I think it may seem to be very small, but we have it in our PDF copy of our 2020 integrated report. But basically, on the left side, we share about all the resources of capital that we use. For example, the intellectual capital, we put down there MIA Technology Blueprint, MIA CFO Competency Framework, MIA Finance Function Competency Framework. So these are all the documents or the guidance that MIA has published. Just one of the capital intellectual. So human capital includes council, includes staff, includes the management. Social and relationship capital includes the members, the committee, also the the companies that we collaborating with. The financial is, of course, the reserve, the money that we have, and natural capital comprised of the energy and also the air that we breathe. And we explain how we do it. So the middle part is where here we explain how we execute our function through the four strategic objectives. So how we explain is through the four strategic objectives and through the core activities that we carry out. So we explain that we carry out membership registration, we carry out technical engagement, we publish guidance, and then we carry out surveillance, and we provide professional continuing development. So here in the middle, we explain our core activities. And the third column is where we explain our outputs, yeah. And final column, we explain the values. So outputs, mainly here we put all those that we can quantify. Of course, outputs also include those that may be more subjective and qualitative. And we explain the value that we created. For example, value that we created is where we raise awareness in terms of IR 4.0. We are able to upskill accountants and train many of them in terms of enhancing technology skill set. We are also able to upskill in terms of technical knowledge such as MFRS, MPERS. We also publish our MPERS ebook. And then in terms of text, so those are among the values that we explain. So looking at this, whoever read this would now know that MIA is not just about registration and collecting fees. You don't get just the calls to pay fees, but you get documents, guidance. You also get articles from our Accountants Today magazine, and then you also get free webinar. Recently we have a webinar on health. So we also get branding, okay, and knowledge, and also topics that are relevant in terms of skilling. So that's what we are trying to show, that we use the capital, we execute based on strategic objective, we run our core activities, we publish our output, and then those outputs help to create value for people at large as well as members. So this is our value creation model. And here you can see that it is, we identify the macroeconomic factors, political factors, technological change, and social factors that also influence the way we do our work. And our theme for the IR 2020 is driving sustainability through trust and collaboration. In MIA, we follow the principle that we are very keen on collaboration. We are very much in collaboration, and we are not in competition because it is a statutory body. So collaboration is the way we actually do our work. So goes back to the second part of the IR framework is actually the guiding principle. Yeah. So these are the guiding principle. There are 7 guiding principles. First, okay, strategic focus and future orientation. So which means that in our report, we always put in our mind that whatever we are reporting is about strategic focus and future orientation. And we try to ensure that the characteristic connectivity of information. So when we write at one section, we try to connect, try to avoid overlapping and connect it to another information. So if you look at MIA-IR, we use icon so that it brings the connectivity to another section. Okay, we try to reduce overlapping information. And we, in IR, one of the characteristic is that there's always importance. We put a lot of importance in stakeholder relationship and engagement with stakeholders. So the other guiding principles of IR is to identify your materiality, and this helps you to focus on the important one, on the significant one, rather than small activity or small information. So materiality guides in terms of what you want to report and how do you build the framework of reporting, how do you build your layout, and in terms of the information, what information that you want to put. And materiality also helps to achieve the next principle, which is conciseness. Try not to make it too wordy, too long-winded, because that may not help, because people may not read a long-winded statement. They want it concise, clear, and understandable. But in another guiding principle is that the reliability and completeness. So when we put something, put information, it has to be complete to the extent that people can understand, not just one drop of statement, reliable and understandable. So it's complete information. And finally is it has to be consistent and comparable. So if we talk about it last year, if in 2019 we are saying that we have this project, but in 2020 it cannot be just missing. So if it's not, if the project is cancelled, then we need to explain that the project that we mentioned last year is cancelled. So comparability and consistency is important. So there are 7 guiding principles, but in order to identify information that material, so you need to have judgment. So a lot of judgment is needed in selecting information that you want to put on your IR. So judgment is needed in also in the presentation of the information, and to guide the content that is also underpinning the whole preparation. So the guiding principle is more like a qualitative factor or characteristic of the integrated report. But the next thing is actually the content element. Yeah, these are guiding, or these are probably basic content element, baseline. So it includes organizational overview, governance, business model, risks and opportunities, strategy and resource allocation, performance, outlook, and basis of preparation. So there are about 8 content elements. And so the question is, can you put more? Yes, you can. Yes, you can put more. But these are 8 baseline content elements, because the IIRC throughout their consultation and the round table, they feel that these 8 are very important, and at least you have these 8. So this is where it becomes our guide in terms of the content. So if you look at the IR that I shared just now, they all have the business model, risk, opportunity, the outlook and all that. Okay, so basically, if we try to look all in all, the concept of IR is about telling your own unique story. Yeah, starting from your plan, your strategy, your resources, how you execute, and then what do you deliver. So it's about your own unique story, and from one ministry may be different from another ministry, may be different from another statutory body, because you have your own vision, you have your own purpose, and therefore your IR would be aligned to your purpose and vision and mission. In terms of benefit, I think no doubt now the benefit of IR has been seen and felt by many, because people are able to understand the organization much better. And internally, okay, in the beginning, first year, you may have a lot more to learn, but over the years, you can see that if it started to flow, the integrated thinking started to flow to everyone in your organization, it will make your job much better, because they understand what they need to give to you in terms of data for you to prepare the annual report. So the integrated thinking help to increase the quality of organizational engagement and dialogue with shareholders. And in MIA, actually our integrated report become like our master booklet
when someone asks us for information, we just go to into the IR and we extract the relevant information to be given to those who ask for information. So that helps us a lot in terms of communicating to our stakeholders. And then also it helps our staff, even our staff, to understand the value that we created, not just for the members but for the staff themselves, so they understand it better why they are doing things, and they understand that they are part of the whole value creation agenda, so they feel much more appreciated. Our staff sometimes having a lot of challenges because there are members who are angry, always shout at them for certain reason. So they have to withstand all that. But when they read the IR, they know they are appreciated. They know about their nation building story. So in MIA, we have to motivate our staff in a lot of ways and bring them back to the very, very purpose of nation building. So anything we always say that, okay, we are doing this for the nation building and let's do this to our best potential. So those are the benefits, especially from probably public sector view. And also I think this also helps us in terms of giving a better presentation or communication to the stakeholders. So IR is actually, we feel that we move from just financial to value management. So now, when we talk about value management, we are talking about a bigger aspect, and our report is able to engage in a more high level view, probably conversation, and give people a more detailed or overall view of the organization. So what makes IR being successful in terms of preparation and implementation? Actually, the tone at the top is very important. The tone at the top is very important. So MIA itself, Dato Zaitun was the vice president, and she said that let's do IR 2017. And at that time, I'm also looking at uh, uh, improving the way MIA communicate information in the annual report. So when she said that, and I said, yes, Dato will do that in 2017. And I drive the process myself, and I help staff to my team to learn more. And I also involved in the discussions, in the searching of information and all that. And we together with at that time Dato Faiz, Dato Zaitun, the president, vice president, sit down, look back at the act, and we went through the workshop with them, looking at soul searching. And that's where we actually identify nation building is the main purpose of MIA, because we understand that when we look back at the act, and I actually read again all the deliberation in parliament on the act, and then I said that the parliament uh you know actually enact MIE. So I read all since 1967, all the changes, and we call it handset, so the parliament deliberation and recording. And when I read all those, I then understand what is the intent, what was the deliberation. So this is actually a, a body where government set up to ensure that the profession is relevant to support the economic growth of the country, including the businesses or any organization. So in order to support economic growth, to support social growth, so the accountants who are registered must be relevant, okay, mark to market, able to help or report based on what the market needs and the social needs. Okay, so if the business has moved, then the accountants need to move together, because you are supporting, you are part and a partner to the nation. So if the business moving to higher income and accountants are still there with the old knowledge, it won't be able to support, and that's a gap. So that's where when I read back, I read again, there's very important hope. I think there's a very important functions and purpose that we need to fulfill in MIA, and I feel accountable to that and responsible for that together with my team. So we are doing all our very best to support what we need to support and to ensure that the accountancy professions are relevant to its environment or to its ecosystem. So that's where the nation building agenda is our main agenda in MIA since 2016, 2017, and until now. The second thing that is important is the infrastructure. MIA is small. We only have about 161 staff handling, everything from technical, from enforcement, from membership, from international engagement, from communication, publishing, everything. So we are very much multitasking. We always have this multi-department task force if we need to do something, and that setup of the steering committee and the working group is really really helpful. We don't have a sophisticated information system. We only have our membership information system, MMIS, but we do have constant communication and constant data gathering between all of us in the institute, so that helps a lot in terms of getting the right data. And we do have regular review in terms of collection, so we bring back all the surveys that we've done. We record, we tabulate the round table that we receive, so all the queries, technical queries, all we tabulated that and we analyze that, help us to come up with the data in our reporting. And then we also try to align our internal and external reporting. So of course our financial statement is being audited by Jabatan Audit Negara, so we try to align that. We engage with our auditors, and we have a formal process for collation of information through our performance and business plan and performance review. So our performance is monitored every quarter, monthly for management. When quarterly, we present it to the OC and council. So because of a regular performance review, therefore we don't have much problem in terms of year end, because all data are already there. And of course, we have the internal audit review of the data information collection process. So those are the important aspects to facilitate more efficient preparation. So these are other adopters in Malaysia. Okay, so I'm actually moving mainly other than PIDM, the rest are actually public listed, but some of those like Malaysia airports, they are public listed, but they are dealing with public goods. So one of the early adopters are actually Sime Darby and Telecom. So Telecom IR is also very good because they are dealing with public at large. They actually explain, how they create value for the public at large. Okay, so I think those are, some of the introduction in a way. Of course, if more detail, we have more detail training when it comes to the content element and the preparation. So, do I have a bit more time to share, perhaps to share the annual report of a few.
Should be okay.
Now dah 10:30. If otherwise, I think I've given all the annual reports of Crown Estate and the airport just now and PIDM. I've sent it to Josephine. My team has sent it to Joe. So maybe you can actually share to all participants so that you can compare for that annual report of that company before and after IR. So you can see what's the difference. Yes, so I stop there and I would like to welcome any questions.
I think, Doctor, we can give you probably about 5 to 10 minutes probably to share some of the financial, like the report that you want to share.
Yes, if I
Yeah,
have, okay, if I'm allowed, okay,
yeah.
let
Yes.
me share. This is PIDM, right? I share the PIDM because I think it's easier for us to understand. So this is PIDM about the report that they have. And so they have the information about their leadership, okay? And then after that, they have overview and operating environment. They explain about their industry portal and members engagement. They explain about, governance and reporting. And they explain about certainty and confidence in times of uncertainty. The reason why it's very important in the statement by the chairman and the CEO, because these are impacting, these are material information that is impacting PIDM operation. And then they explain about the overview, the vision, the mission, and they explain about the mandate. Again, a PIDM is formed by an act. So they explain about Section 4 of the PIDM Act to administer the deposit insurance system and takaful. And they then, in the middle, they explain how we carry out the mandate. So, which I think this is very important information for readers, because they are explaining that they are accountable to carry out their mandate in line with good governance and corporate values. And then the second one is about protection against loss of deposit, where we all need to know. So what they're saying is that in order to ensure that they monitor the health or the status of the member institution, and they remain in state of readiness for an intervention and failure resolution, which means that if the bank is about to fail, PIDM will come in. So that's how they explain how they carry out the mandate from the act. And then provide incentive for sound risk management. They offer premium. If the bank is good and less risky, premium will be better. Okay. And then finally, contribute to stability of financial system together with MOF and Bank Negara. So they explain that, and I think readers would understand, and that really helps them to appreciate PIDM. So the other page on PIDM is about value creation. Okay. So then they explain that the intended value of PIDM protection system can be inferred from our mandate and the preamble to the Act, whereas the stability of financial statement is a key determinant of the economic growth and prosperity of Malaysia. Okay, whereas the purpose of the deposit insurance system and the takaful and insurance benefit protection system is to protect financial consumers. So they explain this. So this is where I think it's a good example where ministries can also look at this, or other state bodies can also look at this. The page where you explain, what is your mandate and why is the mandate is given, what is the main objective, is very important for anyone to understand, the operation of the ministries and the purpose. Okay. And further, they explain their value drivers. Okay, why or what makes them successful. The value drivers are actually critical success factor lah. So when I was a student, we always learn about CSF, critical success factor, and they explain it very clear here that their value drivers reflect the attributes of regulatory excellence, clear mandate, accountability, a continuous pool of talent, and appropriate stakeholder engagement. So then they explain how they create value. This is here. So this is the complete picture that I mentioned. Just now I showed the MIA one. This one is PIDM's complete picture. their input on the left, human capital, social, relationship, financial, intellectual, and manufactured, and then they explain in the middle what we do. Okay, ensure the protection of financial consumer against loss, provide incentive for sound risk management, promote trust and confidence, and then the output. So they show the output in the third column, and they also give more detail where they they put it here, refer to the performance section on page 54. Okay. Then in the fourth column, they show the outcome of value, whereby they explain that the value is about accountability. They're creating a sense of accountability. They are able to nurture talent. They are able to engage with people in terms stakeholder management, to the consumer, to the bank, to the industry, to the economy. Okay, so they explain their value creation. Okay, and they also explain their key stakeholders, who are members of the public, member institution, industry, safety, media, international, strategic, and employees. Okay, and their key risks would be human capital if their staff leave, and then cyber threats, readiness to perform mandate and damage. So those are PIDM. Okay, the rest they explain in much more detail on certain areas, but normally we look at this page, and then we will, if we want to know detail, we'll zoom into the few more pages that explain the detail. Right, so that is PIDM. Yep. So maybe I'll want to share a bit more, if you don't mind, that this one is MIA. Can you see? I hope it's coming out. So MIA, I just want to share about stakeholders engagement, or probably I share about um, our case study. So this is one of the case study. MIA strongly advocates future-proof through digital transformation. MIA strongly advocates for digital transformation to future-proof the profession, accountants, and ensuring relevance to IR 4.0. So
Sorry, Doctor. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we can't see your slide. I mean, are you already opened the MIA integrated report for 2020?
Yes, but you can't see, right?
Yeah, we can see.
Let me try again. Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, okay, you can see now, yeah. So this is the case study that we put in MIA integrated report on digital transformation. Okay, and we actually explain the milestone. This is important sometimes, because when we engage in a very long project, you probably in year 1, year 2, you may only see the milestone, but over 10 years only you completed. But here we actually showed our milestone, because the digital technology is a long gestation. Now we came to about our year 3, but we have reached certain milestone. So this is where we explain, like milestone 1, the strategic leadership by Digital Economy Task Force, where we already have output with the publication of digital technology blueprints, and we explain opportunities to value add, further work to add value and value created. And we explain on the right hand side the impact. Impact is we fulfill our strategic objective 1 and strategic objective 4, and we also fulfilled UN SDG number 8. So this is how we showed it. And then the next milestone is the Digital Technology Blueprint launched in 2018. It guides the profession adoption of digital technology. And again, we show it is fulfilling our strategic objective and UN SDG. Then third one is the ongoing implementation. So there are KPIs that we have achieved, case studies and all that. So whatever we have produced, and then we explain the value and the strategic objective. So yeah, these are all the milestones. Yeah, there's quite a number of milestones. So that's one example how we shared, cases or projects that are long gestation, but we have reached certain milestone. And we also shared the survey that we conducted. We've conducted 2 surveys, 2017, 2019, and we shared the information in this case study. So that's one example how we share the value that we have created through case study, but based on the milestone. But perhaps 3 years from now, we're going to bring this back as a case study, but you can see that, the milestone has probably moved much further. All right, okay. So, okay, with that, I think let's open this session for question and answer. I hand it over back to you, Dr. Anne. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Nurmazilah, for your insightful and interesting presentation. I think we can see from the chat box here, there's a question. Very well, ladies and gentlemen. Perhaps if anyone would like to share the experience, or perhaps to ask the question directly to Dr. Nurmazilah, you can just click the microphone sign available in the apps. Raise your hand first, and then virtually. If not, we can't see you clearly. So please mention your name and the organization you work with, and please just share your thought about the presentation. I think while waiting for some of you to write the question, there's a question from Bahagian account Kementerian Dalam Negeri asking about one of the IR purpose is to build trust as well as performance. So does IR also emphasize on integrity in the information provided and the objective evidence of that information? So it's more towards the integrity of the information, I think, Doctor?
Yes.
So,
yeah, thank you for the question. I think that is very, very good question and relevant. So one of the characteristic of the IR is actually the information must be objective and must have integrity, must be reliable. So that's what we said, that one of the condition is that the information must be reliable, and this is very, very important. So yes, my answer is yes, that information must be reliable and there has to be integrity. Then there's the next question that people ask, how do you ensure, who ensure the integrity, who checks? Okay, so globally, okay, there are 2 ways that we look at that. Even now, actually, I'm working with the International Federation of Accountants, looking at the assurance, limited assurance or assurance on IR. So in Australia, for example, few organizations, few companies have engaged a provider in terms of giving assurance. But other than that, internally, actually, the what we call those who sign the annual report will ensure the integrity of the assurance of the IR, because in a way they are saying, whenever they sign, they're saying that the information in the IR that we presented are actually reliable. So that is the message. But some organization, they also they engage the internal auditor. Okay, they engage the internal auditor or the board or the council, ask the internal auditor to look and ensure consistency and reliability of this information. So there are many ways actually organization are looking into the integrity of the information. So that's my answer. So of course, integrity and reliability is very important. In fact, reliability and consistency of information is one of the characteristics that we emphasize on. Okay, so that's my answer.
I think there's someone raised the hand. Perhaps, yeah, Puan. Okay, please unmute your microphone and just raise your answer, your question.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, we
Great.
can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
Suryati from Sabah Accountant General Department. Question. How do we actually value people when in a department they are comprises of
Tak berapa dengar, line putus.
Yeah. Can you, perhaps, Puan Suryati, can you please repeat your question? We can't clearly hear you.
I would like to ask Doctor, how do we value human capital when the department or ministry, as you know, we are comparing accountants and non-accountants. So how do we value the human capital itself? How do we
Yep.
value?
Yep. Okay. So in terms when we talk about value created by our talent, yeah, by human capital, those are not, I think, what we're looking at is not just on what we call quantitative value. Those value would not go to your account because in accounting standards, we don't have human capital valuation that goes into the accounts. But in the report, how we communicate value of our talent is, I give you an example. You know, our talent comprise of diverse people with diverse background, and this diversity helps in terms of strengthening the operation, because we understand our stakeholders in much better way. So those kind of statement, when we show the strength or the value of our human capital, I would like to give you an example again on MIA IR. So maybe I can share with you again. You don't mind. So in MIA IR, we actually show the strength of our talent. Okay, this is our talent. So, okay. So we show our talent. So of course we show their pictures. But we also showing this. You can see our manpower statistic. Okay, so we have top management, professional development and all that. And we're also showing diversity of our staff, 30 accountants, 8 lawyers, 2 internal auditors. And we also show their years of experience. Like, you know, about 26% having 21 to 30 years of experience, and about certain percentage, 4% above 30 years. So this is how we show the strength. So it's not just by one factor, you know, like one factor is the number of years, then the other factor is actually the employee satisfaction rate. Okay, then the diversity of staff comprised of people from various talent and various background. The other thing, we also show that in terms of the strength of the talent, if you look at here management team, so we show the experience of the management team. Like for example, I have experience in audit, government, accounting and finance, education and training. Dato Rizwan has experience in legal, government, and Shan has experience in accounting and finance, multinational and education. Simon has experience in audit, and Siti coming from technology, government and MCA. So the diversity of experience strengthen the team. That means our team coming from different background and having different experience. So that makes us, our talent to be strong. So that is how we share that in IR. So that is just a small one from MIA, but some organization, if you look at, say, few examples that I sent to you, you can see how they share the value of their talent. Yeah, I hope it answer your question. Yeah.
Yeah, on the, what about Suryati? Is it answering your question? All right. So I think perhaps the next question is closely related to the balancing of the information, because right now is there we can see from the example that you give, there's a lot of information, but is there any indicators? The question from Mr. J. Azhar, is there any indicators that information being reported is over provided to the stakeholders? So how do we know the information provided is sufficient to the stakeholders? Yeah, perhaps you can.
Yeah. So this is very interesting. Our stakeholders are really many. Okay, but from all the questions, so we identify our stakeholders. That's why if you look at MIA IR, I think we have about 3 pages where we show how we engage with stakeholders. So when we engage with stakeholders, we more or less know what normally the question they ask and what are important information for them. So our main stakeholders, of course, would be MOF and also Counter Negara and the members. And normally, what are the matters that is important to them? Okay, so from this engagement, we are able to identify the main question, and then we address that question in our IR. So indicator is you need to engage with your stakeholders, and from there you identify what are the main things that they always ask. Okay, and that's one. This is the guide. Secondly is your materiality. What are things that very important for you? Yeah. For example, your materiality factor can be questions from the parliament. So those are the things that you need to address, because you know that your IR will go to parliament. For example, like MIA IR is an annual report is tabled to parliament. So we need to address matter that is important to the nation. For example, numbers of accountant. We receive from many ministries statistic on numbers of accountant. For example, Ministry of Women will ask statistic on numbers of women accountant. Okay, so we have that information because we know people would want to know, would ask on that. Yep. So those are the few indicators lah. So engagement, and then look at your material factors and look at your stakeholders. So I hope I give you some tips.
So we really need to engage closely with the stakeholders so that we know their needs actually. Okay, I think there's another interesting question here. It's not about producing the report. It's all about the another important thing is integrated thinking. So the question from Saiful Nizam asking you how about the nature of integrated thinking concept in integrated reporting? Perhaps you could explain more on how to use integrated thinking throughout the process.
Yep. Okay, so actually integrated thinking itself can be a big body of knowledge. There is a special interest group in IIRC on integrated thinking, but I don't want to overwhelm you all too much. But once we start, I think we can further develop our knowledge. So the integrated thinking is to get, I think in another way to talk about it is about collaboration, to get our team to always work together, and so that we don't have overlapping initiative, and we are actually handling, probably addressing questions based on collaboration with all departments. That is integrated thinking. So when we look about it, for example, if I just give example of MIA. So if in MIA, you know, my membership team would think about, okay, onboarding a new member, and then this member may be someone working in public practice, working in firm, but straight away the other team would also know that, you know, we need to do trainings, we need to do more engagement, we need to do probably briefing for these new firms. So which means that there won't be few briefing, just one that we bring everyone together. So that's integrated thinking, because at the end of the day, we focus on the outcome that this new firm must be competent to do their work. And we've done that. Our public practice program bring together speakers from various divisions, including our enforcement. So that's how integrated thinking comes into picture, so that they don't have to go through, or for example, isi borang lah, maybe another example, isi borang kan. Isi satu borang, terus semua dapat info. So we try to minimize that. This customer isi borang kat department ni, kemudian pergi sana department isi borang lagi, pergi satu lagi department isi lagi borang. That is the most simple example. That's where integrated thinking in example lah.
Okay, I think
so is that, yeah, does that answer your question, Saiful?
Hopefully, I think, because
Yeah.
it takes time. Besides integrated thinking, I think you already introduced quite a lot of important elements in doing integrated reporting. Perhaps you could share the challenge that you face, because you need to gather all the information and then you need to also think about the integrated thinking, communicate with the stakeholder. It takes time. So perhaps you can share the challenge that you face throughout the process.
Challenges memang ada. There are many challenges, and not only MIA, we spoke to many public listed as well. They also have challenges. You know, some, okay, there are also public listed. They did it in year one, and it does not fully that's not fully following IR. So there's a bit of element of IR. So I think one of the biggest challenge is to get data and information. This is always being shared with me. One of the biggest challenge is to get data and information. And then secondly is to try to be concise. Try to be concise. So imagine there are 10 departments. So in some public listed, for example, 10 departments, everyone will submit. Okay, the way they did it, they have format. So format given to all departments, and everyone will submit. And then from that departments, sometimes there's overlapping information. That is where there's not the integrated thinking has not been fully embedded. So everyone submit. Then you can probably get one information from that exists in all 10 reports. Okay. And then the other thing is where everyone feels that their report is important. Okay, everyone feels that their story is important. Department ni kata, I want my story to come out. Okay, I want my case study. The other department also want their case study. So the coordinator will have a tough time to choose that case study. So that's one of the challenge lah. But how it helped? Okay, what we did in MIA to minimize this is that's why the tone at the top is very important. MIA is driven by the top management committee. We discuss what we're doing for that year based on our strategic plan, our operational plan. And from the operational plan, we already deliberated at management committee what are the important ones based on the data and based on the impact. So then we choose the data and information to fit what we have decided upon. So challenges, to get cooperation, challenges can be overlapping. To get the integration is a challenge. Yeah, but can be overcome lah when you put a right structure, a right collaboration. That's my tips.
Correct. I think the next question, Doctor, is also related to the challenges, I think, because in the context, the questions from Zuhana, in the context of Malaysian government, how do we ensure the involvement of non-accountants to actively participate in producing IR? Because the information in IR is not only financial information, it also requires non-financial information. So yeah, the question from Zuhana, how to deal with it?
Yeah. My suggestion is, we need to speak to engage again. Engagement. Sometimes bila engage ni, it will involve difficult discussion. But this is where I think a round table or meeting, so to speak, we start with the question: how do we communicate to our stakeholders? Okay, start with that question. How can we give better information to our stakeholders and they really appreciate and understand what we are doing in the ministry? So we start with that question. And this question is, I think, relevant enough to everyone, not just accountant. And then secondly is actually okay. And they will give you a lot of probably suggestion. And then the next step is like, fine, those are very good suggestions. Let's bring this together and incorporate it in the annual report. And let's do this IR, whereby all those suggestions will incorporate it in annual report while we are also preparing the financial. Will assist you to put that information that you suggested into the IR. So I think it goes back to communicating to your stakeholder. So that is relevant to all, not just accountant.
Okay, Doctor, I think we have another two questions here, quick one. I think IR provides important and good information to shareholders and stakeholders according to Asra. However, in the context of public service entity, what are the potential risks and long-term challenges, especially in relation to financial big data, that may occur if IR is implemented in the public service entity? So the question is mainly on the potential risks and long-term challenges that we may face in future.
Okay. I think in terms of big data, I don't see, or probably there would be huge risk in terms of big data, because we choose what are the important information to put in our IR within the context and also within our permissible data disclosure and transparency. So it goes back to PDPA, if we need to comply with PDPA for certain ministries, and it goes back to government policy on data sharing. But so of course we need to observe that, and does not mean that we actually explain everything without looking at guidelines. So we have to observe and follow the guidelines in terms of data sharing, and that is very important. But I think, just to be a bit objective about this, the risk would be if there's too frequent change of leadership. I want to put it really soft, but if you are too frequent change on leadership and direction keep changing, that's the risk. Because if you put in your IR, this is your vision and all that you want to achieve, but suddenly the direction change and change and change, so your IR would have problem, I think, inconsistency. I hope you understand what I mean, but change of leadership and direction. So if it's too frequent and keep changing, tak sempat nak report achievement dah bertukar. Tak sempat nak report achievement dah bertukar. That's what I mean. That's the risk.
Yeah, that's closely related to us, perhaps for those ministry which involve with merge and demerge ministry, as you know, we have a lot of changes in terms of the structure. So the final question is related to the structure from Saiful Nizam again. The final question, Doctor, will this integrated reporting will change the organizational structure, especially on government sector? We have a large organizational structure. Will we change or not?
I think because this one is like initiative on collaboration, it might not change the structure lah, but it probably can change the way people work together. Yeah, structure is structure. We follow the structure, but it can change how people collaborate. It can give more positive impact how people engage and communicate with each other. I think that's where it gives a lot of positive opportunities, because it can change the way people collaborate and engage with each other. But I don't think you need to change structure to do this. Yep, that's my my take on that. Sebab when we do tu kan, so just imagine this is what we experience when we look at our value creation. You know, we sit together and we talk about, like in MIA, we always talk about nation building, and we bring our data together. We look at our output and outcomes, and we put it in something that is nice. So at the end of the day, you know, though it is about late nights and all that, people are happy because they felt that they're satisfied, and then the team tend to be more understandable, because they know that in order to get this done, in order to get the outcome, it's not just me, it involves another 10 people along the line. So they then appreciate each other much better lah.
That's interesting, Doctor. So perhaps we could hear from you on the final thoughts to wrap up the whole session on the integrated reporting, the possibility to do it in public sector environment, Doctor.
Yep. Okay, so my advice, okay, you may not, this IR is a journey. So, you know, it's okay not to start, or not to publish immediately. It's okay not to publish immediately, but let's start looking at it. Yeah, let's start, you know, probably identifying data, understanding the content element, make your first step into IR, and gradually moving into that. Some organization, what they did is they put some element first. They don't call it IR, but they start to put better elements. For example, they add, say, the strategy, and they add the value creation. Though they won't call it IR yet, you know, because all the elements are not there yet, but they start putting a few elements in their annual report. Some organization, they take that small steps, but they, what we say, like, you know, let's do it, let's take the small steps. So that's my advice.
Alright. So yeah, I think it can relate to the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Yeah, single step.
Yes, yes, yeah, right.
And I think from this session, I think public sector accountant, we need to learn about how to become outstanding storyteller rather than just ordinary bean counter like before. So I think because of time limitation here, we had a fair share of our ideas and opinion of this session. And I think some of the ministry accountants out there who would like to start the journey to plan ahead how to collate all the information. I would like to end this session by saying thank you very much to Dr. Nurmazilah for the insightful speech and also active participation from the audience in the session, although we are at a different office at the home probably. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy this webinar session and other PSA activity in future. So thank you, Dr.
Thank you, and congratulations to PSA for organising this. Actually, I'm very, very happy. Syukur Alhamdulillah sebab I'm able to share this, and I'm very happy that PSA is taking these steps, and we accountants are being the agent of change, are being the leader in change, in engaging better with our what we call with our nation or with our stakeholders in public sectors. Of course, they are all the citizens of Malaysia, and this is really a very good effort. And it looks like the accountancy profession is actually leading the nation. So congratulations, Alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much, Dr. N and Dr. Nurmazilah, for the insightful discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar is now to come an end. We hope that it has been a fruitful morning to all of you. I believe this session is an eye-opening for us towards producing integrated reporting in future. Thank you once again, Dr. Nurmazilah, for your insight, and all the participants for joining us today. Before we leave this webinar, let me have a quick photo session. Kindly switch on your camera and ready to smile.
Masih ada print screen.
This one is main screen.
Kejap, saya ambil main screen.
Okay, ready again to smile, ladies and gentlemen? And do some thumbs up.
Let me see. Right. Next.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a great day ahead.
Ambil gambar semua ke? Nak tengok semua. Okey, kejap. Kita ambil semua. Okey. Okey.
Cantik lah gambar. Ini gambar cantik eh. Macam yang sudah tidak banyak. Saya buat je kan sudah nampak balik.
Okey, sekejap